All right, everybody, good morning. Welcome to the Season 11 Round 3 update. This is our first video update since the season began. We're going to start with just looking at the standings. We'll look at the matchups coming up, look at who's leading the league in the different honor categories, and just kind of give our predictions on how the next round's going to go. So this is just under the halfway point. We'll pass the halfway point after this round concludes. So let's just look at the standings and see where everybody's sets up right now. So right now in the Blue Ridge division, we have the Cyclone Cottontails in first place with 3 wins, 0 draws, 0 losses. They've got a +4 net and touchdown, even on casualties. We've got the Blackwater Prowlers also in first place with 9 points, 3 wins, 0 draws, 0 losses. They've yet to be scored on so far, so +6 net right now. So both of those teams are leading the Blue Ridge division. Then we've got a close follow behind with the Hushuts Hammers. The Chaos Dwarf team coached by Roland, 7 points with 2 wins, 1 draw. And then we've got the Lowdown Dirty Rats, which is Mark Skaven team, 2 wins, 1 draw. And then the rest of the league actually is, we'll say, struggling a little bit. We've got the Bloody Barons who've been able to secure a couple draws and a loss with 2 points. The base name entry have yet to get a win so far. The Black Orc Dragonback Mountain Mashers also yet to get a win, being outscored by a net of 5. And then the Skull Crusher crew, also Black Orcs, I believe, struggling just a little bit to find their way into the win column. So right now there's a pretty big separation between the top 4 teams and the bottom 4 teams, but we'll see how the next 4 rounds kind of bring these teams back together. But right now, this is how the Blue Ridge division's looking. We go down to the Mill Mountain division. We've got no undefeated teams right now, so the only undefeated teams are in the Blue Ridge division. But we've got Corn Beef, which is Shad's corn team with 2 wins, 1 draw, 7 points there, +3 net touchdown. We've got Z's Gators of the Great Swamp, are also 2 wins and a draw. So they've been doing really well. We've got the Hungry Hibernators who have started off really strong, only suffering their first loss in the round 3 matchup, but starting off very strong there. We've got Null Nightfire, the human team, which started off the season with a loss, but have been able to pick up 2 wins in their next 2 games. And then we've got another 6-point team, which is Bob's Skyrim Skeevers. They are 2 wins and a loss as well. So we've got a really close race between the top 5 teams right now. And then we've got the Big Old Bashes, which kind of sits kind of in the middle there with having their own win and 2 losses right now at 3 points. And then following up, we've got the Bone Wogs and Larceny, new coach. So no big deal there. Yet to look for their first win, but I'm sure it'll be coming soon. And then we've got Pyramids Gaze, also we'll say a moderately experienced coach, looking for their first win on the season as well. So that's how the standings shake up so far. Let's go ahead and just jump into the honors, see how people are shaping up there. So this is just the team honors. So right now we've got the highest team value right now is ranging around 1,200 to 1,300 for the top 5 teams is about where the team values are for those teams that are still relatively healthy and doing okay. Most fame right now, we've got the Skyrim Skeevers are our only team with 6 dedicated fans, but we've got 3 other teams, the Big Old Bashes, the Gators of the Great Swamp, and the Null Nightfire each have 5 dedicated fans. Most experience so far, our top 5 teams are in the 45 to 55 range right now for star player points, if you're trying to keep track of kind of how those upper teams are pacing themselves through these games. So you should be averaging, if you wanted to be on pace with this, you'd be averaging about 14 SPP, 15 SPP per game to stay on pace to get up in here, maybe a little bit higher even. Most versatile team, so this is just adding together a whole bunch of items. Not really surprised because of the number of fouls that have been undertaken. Ricky's Bonewogs and Larceny are leading the most versatile category right now with 31 points. We've got most scorer right now is the Cyclone Cottontails. The Wood Elf team, coached by Gerald, has been able to find the end zone the most times and score 8 times, followed by the two Skaven teams. So all of that checks out the way you would think it would. The main surprise here probably is Roland's Chaos Dwarves, who have been able to find the end zone 6 times in these 3 games. So a little bit average for their slower movement. I'm sorry, above average scoring for their slower movement for Chaos Dwarves. Best defense right now, Eric Pickcock's Blackwater Prowlers Necromanticor are the only team yet to be scored on this season. We've got 4 teams that have allowed 2 touchdowns through 3 games. The following close behind, but the defense right now by the Blackwater Prowlers is leading the league. Most beast right now, maybe a little bit of a correlation. It's easy to play defense if you're removing the other team off the field, right? So we've got 9 casualties caused by the Blackwater Prowlers. Probably has a little bit to do with their ability to access the claws. So some of the higher strength teams have been unable to break through. Hashut's Hammers are a little bit of a surprise. Like I said, typically they are a bashy team as Chaos Dwarves, but not having as much block, not having tackle, certainly limits their armor break potential sometimes. But they've been able to cause 8 casualties so far. Base name entry, Chaos Renegades with multiple big guys. Not really surprised they're leading there. But it's really the two Skaven teams, which I think their Rat Ogres have really been popping off here lately. The Rat Ogres have been racking up casualties for the Skaven, for both the Lowdown Dirty Rats and the Skyrim Skeevers. Most injured right now, unfortunately, this is the punching bag award right now. So that's 2 Black Orc teams. Both the Dragonback Mountain Mashers and the Skull Crusher crew both had suffered 10 casualty injuries so far. Um, which is, obviously unfortunate given that they really need to avoid injury as much as possible to be very competitive. Most killer team right now, we've got 3 teams that have killed 2 players, which is base name entry, so Chaos Renegades, Bone Wogs and Larceny, the Black Orc team, and then Shad's Corned Beef team have also caused 2 deaths so far. Most dirty player. It's a pretty big gap right now. The Bone Wogs and Larceny, mostly led by R. Smelly. R. Smelly's been fouling like crazy. He's committed, well, I don't know how many fouls yet, but the team total has racked up about 20 fouls across the board. So fouling almost every turn. Most sent offs right now is base name entry and the Bloody Barons, who have been unable to avoid the eye of the referee. And then we've got most completions right now. The Skyrim Skeevers have 8 total completions, Null Nightfire 7. And then there's 4 and 3 for some of these other faster teams. Maybe the big surprise here is the Bloody Barons. They've got 4 total completions. I guess the trees count when they're throwing. Maybe that's where some of those are coming from. But we'll check that out when we get to each team. The best runs so far, as we said, the Blackwater Prowlers and the Cyclone Cottontails are the only 2 undefeated teams. So they've won 3 games in a row, so they lead that category. The worst run, we've got 5 teams shown on this list right now who are yet to get their first win of the season. And that's the Dragonback Mountain Mashers, Base Name Entry, Skull Crusher Crew, Pyramid Gaze, and Bone Wogs and Larceny. Let's look at the player awards now. All right, most valued player right now, highest paid in the league, is Crastus Swiftmane, which is the Bull Centaur for the Hashut's Hammers, getting paid 170K. We've got 2 werewolves, both with the Blackwater Prowlers, also getting paid some hefty sums. Lucian von Wigglebutt II and Murder Mittens McGee, both werewolves on the Necromantic Horde team, both getting 165K. Most valued big guy right now is Beefcake for Corned Beef. I think he's a block blood spawn. So obviously that adds some team value quite a bit, and already being, I think, the most valued big guy in the game gives him a little bit of an up. I am not even going to try to say this name for the Skyrim Skeevers. The Queer Quick Great Seeker, the Rat Ogre for the Skyrim Skeevers is also at 190K, and then the Chaos Renegades, Krolgfag Stonefist. Um, You guys are ridiculous. I don't know if you even picked that name, but if you did, it's ridiculous. Um, is sitting at 180K. Rat Lewis, 170. Titus Bone Crusher, 160. Most valued stunty right now is Blueberry. Blueberry is 115K, quite a big jump over the others. Probably has a couple skills at this point, maybe even a double. I haven't checked, but that's certainly allowing them to get paid a little more. They are the most experienced player in the whole league, though, Blueberry is, with 22 SPP, which is shocking. Halfling catcher, obviously scoring lots of touchdowns. Lucian von Wigglebutt II with 19 SPP. And then we've got a couple other players falling behind in the 15 and 16 range. Most versatile player, because of the fouling, R. Smelly leads the league in most versatile, which is a Goblin Bruiser lineman for the Bone Wogs and Larceny. Most scorers so far, Blueberry has scored 6 total touchdowns. Bo Ratson, the gutter runner for the Lowdown Dirty Rats, is 5 touchdowns. Krill Lowwatcher for the Skyrim Skeevers has 4. And then we've got some catchers and war dancers for the Cyclone Cottondales with 3. Most beast right now, we've got 3 players. Queer Crick, Great Seeker, uh, Strixtrovich, Blazing Thorn for base name Entry Rat Ogre, and then Crassus Swiftmane for the Hushuts Hammers. All have 5 casualties so far this year. Most injured right now is the Clan Rat, Thrickquich Ashspire. You guys gotta get it some easier to pronounce names in here. For the Skyrim Skeevers, has been injured 3 total times, so he gets hurt in every single game thus far. We've got most MVP right now. Crowfag Stonefist has 3 MVPs. Brutus Blackthorn with 2. Lemon, the Source Blocker, also has 2. Most dirty player right now, 19 fouls committed. R. Smelly, he's going for uh, Tater Cackle Fouls record probably. And so I don't remember what Tater Cackle Foul ended up with, but he's certainly on pace to probably beat it at this point. But 19 total fouls thus far. Foy Fairfoot for the Bloody Barons has committed 4 himself. Most sent offs, there's just a tie between probably a whole bunch of players with just 1 sent off apiece. And then most completions right now, Thex Steel Maul, Skyrim Skeevers, Throwers got 8 completions. Bo Malone with the Null Nightfire have 7. So that's how the honors shape up right now. Let's jump into the next round, see how we're going. So let's just start at the top. The Blackwater Prowlers against the Bloody Barons. So the Bloody Barons have been able to hold on with some draws. They're going to get quite a bit of petty cash. So probably can show up with some good star players. We'll take a look at what those will be. Both of these teams are doing pretty well offensively, averaging 2 touchdowns per game. The Blackwater Prowlers, of course, are playing excellent defense, keeping people out of the end zone. The one thing that may be a big, I'll say, deciding factor will be if the Blackwater Prowlers can use their claws to get some hits on the trees and remove the trees. That'll really cripple the halflings. Brutality wise, they're doing great at hurting people, doing great at avoiding it, being injured, whereas the halflings have relied on fouling, and the Blackwater Prowlers, I don't think, have committed any fouls thus far. Both of these are veteran coaches with their respective race, so they know how to play them well. And so I'm going to expect a pretty close game throughout this. Let's look at the Blackwater Prowlers. So right now, Og has guard. He's got both of the Wraiths have guard, both Tom Sheets and Hans Sheets. And then we got Lucian von Wigglebutt and Murder Mittens McGee. Both have 2 skills apiece, block strip ball and block dodge. Very close to skilling up, but haven't quite gotten there yet. So their team's in pretty good spot. Still sitting on 2 rerolls, so I'm sure they're saving up for another reroll. They look like they've got a lot of they've got their roster pretty much fully built. I don't think you want to go above 12 players. Um,
For those who
so I
don't
don't
know
think
or
there's going
don't
to be any more
recognize this smooth
purchasing of
voice, it's your boy
roster
Snoop
players at this point. They're
D-O-double-G in the
probably just
house.
saving up for that
Let's
third
give a big
reroll,
warm welcome to Aaron,
and then
joining
keeping
us
cash
for
on
the
hand
Star
to
City Blood
replace
Bowl League video updates. We
ghouls
about
that
to drop
die
them
or
sports
anything that
stats
goes
like it's hot,
regeneration in
keeping
the
it real
house.
and fresh. Over to you, Aaron, on the mic.
Looking at the Bloody Barons, we've got Dr. Poplar and Sir Fur, both block trees. That's going to be really helpful coming up. Um, and then we've got Brick the Halfling, Hefty. He's got leader right now. Agility and passing. What would you even want? He's got dodge. He's got Fend already. Leader. I'd assume you're maybe saving for a skill. maybe even a stat upgrade if it got to that point. We've got a Surefoot, Block Dodge, Halfling Catcher, obviously very difficult to bring down. Um, you know, so that'll be useful. Um, they're sitting right now at 11 players. I can't remember what their petty cash was. I want to say it was 390 for petty cash. So you're going to take the chef, so that's 100K to hopefully steal those re-rolls. And then if we look at some of the inducements with 290K, what are you going to take? What are you going to take? Can you get Griff? How much is Griff? Griff is 280, so you could take Griff. It's probably the right call, in my opinion, is to probably take Griff. Griff is just so good, being strength 4, block dodge, sprint sure feet, fend. So hard to take down. I mean, obviously he's got strip ball, so you would want to avoid him getting hit by strip ball if he's got the ball. But he can almost win you games alone, so he's great. Deep root, strong branch, mighty blow +2 is also a great pick. If you're trying to kind of, I guess, spread it out a little bit, you might be able to get away with cheap griff. So taking someone like Carla Von Kill, she's like 210. Yeah, and then that would leave you with what, like one. They only leave you enough to pick up like 70K, so you're probably taking like maybe you could get. I don't take Rodney. Maybe take Cindy. I mean, obviously they don't have hands, so Cindy's going to be a great pick if you can get some good passes off. Throw at the Wraiths. They don't have hands, so they can't catch bombs. The agility is pretty poor across the entire team, so they're probably not catching your bombs. Um, so that might be another play is to just take a cheaper Carlo Von Kill and then run with that. The other thing that's I think a lot of people sleep on is the abilities of Grombrindle. Grombrindle's a great dwarf. Obviously, he's got armor, so he's susceptible to claws. But his Wisdom of the White Dwarf can happen every turn. So you can give halflings break tackle and allow them to dodge away on 2+s re-rollable. Excellent, option, especially if you give it to the catcher or something like that right before. You just have to make sure he starts next to that player. But even when he's prone or anything like that, he can still use his ability. So I think a lot of people sleep on that one a lot. Maple Highgrove is great as well. I think he's undercosted significantly for what he is, being able to hit from far away. What do I think is going to happen here? I think it's going to be tough, especially if the Prowlers are able to get some hits on the trees. Um, I think Griff can still win it. I think it's a close game. I don't want to say that I count the Bloody Barons as possibly winning this. They certainly can win it. I think more than likely it's probably going to end up being a draw. So I'm going to say 2-2 is what I'm going to guess for the game final score here. 2-2 is a draw. So this right here, Skull Crusher crew against the Lowdown Dirty Rats. Skull Crusher crew looking for their first win. They're obviously beat up a little bit, missing 3 Black Orcs. They're going to be really, really hurting. They don't have hardly any money to replace them. I didn't see how much petty cash. I didn't pay attention. 280K. So it's going to be good, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. They're not really finding the end zone. Getting hurt way more than they should be. Not removing players. Their endurance is okay, but again, not great. Um, the Lowdown Dirty Rats are scoring quite a bit. They're stopping other teams from scoring. They're hurting people quite a bit, avoiding injury enough. And they'll even sneak in a foul from every time here and there. They are missing Tosser O'Malley. They're missing Imrat Smith. So they are down a little bit of speed, a little bit of throwers. Let's see, are they going to end up with Journeyman? 2 Journeymen are coming in. So it's closer than it probably would be. We can say that. Um, we've got Bo Ratson's obviously block dodge, jump up, sprint. We've got block dodge, sidestep. Both strength 2, so you're out strengthening them. What you probably need is a tackle piece, in my opinion, to help offset this. And what did I say you get? 280. So what are we going to take here? 280. 280. What are we taking? 280. You're probably taking. 280. Rashnak Backstabber could be a good pick with stab. Obviously, they're all armor 8 plus, so running up, stabbing. He's got sneaky get. He can foul. Might be a good pick. Um, hard part is Badlands and Bribery and Corruption. There's not a lot of good tackle pieces that exist. Pharaoh Goldchewer, you can afford him. He's good as well. I don't know. The hard part is you need strength, and that's the piece you're missing the most. Um, it's going to be tough. Sorry, Travis. I think it's going to be real tough. I mean, you might be able to take Bomber and Rashnak and some other skills, but being down 3 Black Orcs is going to be really tough to overcome um, in this game, I think. What do I think is going to happen? I think it's a win for the Dirty Rats. I'm going to say 2-0. Could even be 3-0, but we'll just go with 2-0. Dragonback Mountain Mashers looking for their first win against the Cyclone Cottontails. So obviously in good shape. They're missing their one Goblin Bruiser lineman, so they're going to be no reserves. But otherwise, they're in pretty good shape. They're going to get 50K petty cash, probably taking a keg, maybe a mascot might be a good pick as well. Um, team right here has only got 10 players, so they're going to have to pick up some extra journeymen. So that's going to be helpful to the Black Orcs. They haven't been able to skill up a bunch. I don't know. I guess they're saving for stat upgrades, is my guess, or maybe a double. I'm not sure. Um, but Snuggle Buns hasn't taken a skill yet, so that might increase the petty cash a little. I think this is definitely a winnable game for the Dragonback Mountain Mashers. One of the things that's really helpful as Blackworks is to remember since you're only movement 4 when you're on offense, you have to be moving forward at least one space almost every turn. If you're not progressing forward, then you're not going to do a great job of ending up in the end zone, or you're going to have to do some sketchy, dodge 2+2+ extension in turn 8. Um, like I said, I think taking advantage of Brawler grab is going to be great. Obviously, the Wood Elves need to screen as much as they can. Obviously, I'd probably consider trying to pick up the ball if I was the Mountain Mashers with a Black Orc. I know they're slow. It's easy to hand off later, but if you could get it on a strength 4 piece, that's going to essentially eliminate the ability of the War Dancers to jump in and possibly pop the ball out with their tackle on your bruisers. That's probably what I would end up doing. And then I would try and avoid, obviously, getting held down by the Treeman as much as possible. The Treeman's going to end up keeping some Black Orcs at bay. So as soon as you knock him down and can get away from him, you should. What do I think is going to happen here? Obviously, Alex has struggled to find the end zone a little bit. I think he's due. But there's been a lot of scoring by the Wood Elves. Good defense played, been able to remove enough players to make it easy on them. I'm going to go with, I think this is going to be, I want to say it's going to be a draw. I'm going to say it's going to be a 1-1 draw. I think the Mashers are going to be able to punch one in. I think the Cyclone will be able to punch one in, and maybe there won't be enough time for the Mashers to equalize. But I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw on this one. All right. Last game of the Blue Ridge Division, we got Hashut's Hammers, base name entry, Bash on Bash, 5K petty cash. So the teams are really even right now. Hashut's Hammers having a great season, finding the end zone 2 times a game, being able to stop people from getting in, hurting people, and avoiding being hurt. All lean towards them being the better team coming up in this matchup. Looking at their skills, lots of block. I mean, essentially everybody's got block but a few guys, 2 guys, which isn't much. So that's going to be a big critical piece here. Still not rocking a big guy. Maybe that's what they're saving up for. I don't know what else they would need. They might want to consider taking a 12th player, maybe as a Hobgoblin. Um, let's see what they're up against here. So healthy Chaos Renegades. Um, they've got Block Orc, Monstrous Mouse Skaven, Renegade Human Thrower, all looking very good. Renegade Orc, Renegade Rat Ogre, not yet to take a skill. I'm assuming saving for block. I would maybe consider Juggernaut before taking block, but that's me. Um, but it pairs really well with Frenzy. Um, so looking at this 125K, haven't been able to find the end zone. It's going to be a tough one for even the Chaos Renegades. I can't remember. Do they have an elf? Did I miss that? Don't even have an elf. It's going to be very difficult then, I think, without the Dark Elf lineman. Um, what do I think is going to happen? I think the Hammers are going to beat up on them. I mean, obviously the big guys are going to be a little bit of a problem, but if I was the Hammers, I wouldn't be afraid to one die block, say the Rat Ogre. Hope you break that 9+ armor. Jump on it with a Hobgoblin. The rest of these players, Monstrous Mouth's not great, right? I mean, um, I don't know. It was a primary that was chosen. It helps to strip ball, but otherwise, I can't remember. Do you get to re-roll a catch or something, or +1 to a catch? I can't remember. Um, so I'm sure the play is pick it up with the human thrower, try and get it to the Skaven, and then try and score. Um, he relies really heavily on the Rat Ogre, who's probably doing the blitzing almost every turn based on the casualties. Um, so I would say get it out of position, foul it, get it off the pitch, and go on with your life. Work the linemen. The linemen are only 9+. They don't have block, so I wouldn't be afraid, especially if you have rerolls early on and it's late in the turn to take one die blocks against those linemen with your block dwarves. I mean, most of the time you're at least going to push them, so it's probably worth the effort. I'm going to give this one a 2-0 to the Hushut's Hammers. I think they're going to stay on their win streak. All right, Mill Mountain Division, last 4 matchups. We've got Pyramids Gates against Bonewogs and Larceny. Somebody's got to win this. Somebody's at least got to draw this. So both of these teams are going to come away with something they haven't seen before. So we've got real tough Tomb Guardians that are going to be in play. Blitzers haven't got any skills yet, but some Brawlers, some Guard, and Pile Driver against the Bonewogs and Larceny. Really healthy Black Orc team, really strong. Armbar is going to be probably not helpful, but it works if you stick it up on somebody who's going to have to dodge possibly. They are weak armored. Um, Looking at this, you got multiple block, multiple guard. Obviously, I haven't been able to get a lot of SPP yet throughout the season, but the sneaky get's going to be really helpful. As soon as you knock something down, try and get those assists so that you can help your chances of removals. They've yet to score a touchdown yet this season, but this might be the game. Just like I said, Blackhawks are one of those teams you got to make sure you're moving forward when you're on offense. You can't waste a lot of time standing still, but you don't want to overrun yourself either. You don't want to run yourself out of protection, and you got to remember that you have to move as fast as your slowest piece. So try to move forward 2, maybe 3 spots every turn as best you can, working towards the end zone, and then try and score on turn 7 or 8. Um, in this game. So, what do I think is going to happen? I think this is going to be a draw. I think it's going to be 1-1. I think they're both going to find the end zone one time and then be too slow to score again. But that's what I think is going to happen. I didn't look at the. I think the teams were pretty even. Petty cash, 65K petty cash for the Pyramid Gaze. You're just taking a keg and then calling it a day. Skyrim Skiers corn beef. So Skiers are going to get 65K. Um, Probably also taking a keg. Maybe want to take a mascot if they want to play a little crazy. 2.3 touchdowns per game, 1.7 on the corned beef side. Playing good defense, better defense on corned beef. Hurting each other about the same, a little bit better for the Skeevers, but the corned beef have been able to avoid injury, which has been really helpful to them. Shad's an experienced coach playing with corn, so that gives him a little bit extra coverage there. We've got a real fast team, all 4 gutter runners. So there's perks and there's downsides to that, right? It's kind of like running all 4 catchers for Wood Elves. You're very, very fast, but you're really weak. So you're not taking a lot of blocks, which means you're really just taking punches to the mouth. So that's the downside. It's the one thing I think I played some practice tournament stuff with 4 gutter runners. I think it is the right way to play them, especially in tournaments. But the one thing that I really missed was that I couldn't really get the strength to take enough blocks to fight back at all. So it was hard to find ways to stop, you know, a trudge down the field because you couldn't actually really attack a cage very easily. I have no doubt they'll be able to score very, very quickly. If anything, they need to figure out how to slow down and not score too quickly and hold on to the ball a little bit. That might mean putting the ball very deep in your end zone, making them come at it, get out of position, and then you can run by and send people downfield. Um, Corned beef, obviously, they're still short of blood seeker. Oh no, they got their fourth blood seeker. So they're in good shape. They've got all their positionals, short of corn gore. So if I was Skaven, you got to attack mutton chop. You got to take them out of the game. It's the only thing that they're going to score on you with. And then just try and look for ways to get them out of position with frenzy. Limit their number of blocks with some kind of elf screening and such, and you might be able to avoid them from um, trudging downfield a little too quickly. Obviously, they're going to be taking lots of blocks. If they start breaking armor, things can get a little nasty. But if you take Mutton Chop out, he's their only agility 3. That's, we'll say, pretty decent. The other thing not to discount is the ability to Juggernaut to push people away, even on a both down. So if you've got the ball and you need to, say, roll a die, a blitz in order to get away, I do think he blitzes quite a bit with Mutton Chop to keep the ball moving with that strength 4, so just be mindful of that. What do I think is going to happen? I think the Skeevers are going to win this one. I think it's going to be 2-1, um, is my guess in there. Null Nightfire against the Hungry Hibernators. So Human Null Nightfire have won their last 2 games. Hungry Hibernators have suffered their last loss. They're going to get 180K, which is great for the Hibernators. Um, right now, finding the end zone 2 times a game, which is a good average. Playing great defense on both sides of the team ball, I guess. Um, brutality, both of these teams are kind of hurting teams at about the same level. A little bit more injuries caused by the Null Nightfire. And then endurance wise, they're both avoiding injury about the same rate. And then dirty play, um, neither of them are fouling at all. As far as experience goes, I coach the Null Nightfire. I'm a very new human coach, so trying to still figure them out a little bit. Rachel has played Norse in a number of seasons, and so is an experienced Norse coach. Looking at the Null Nightfire, they have been able to skill up a little bit, which has been great, and avoid some injuries. So Titus Bone Crusher's got guard. I mean, really, you see a lot of guard here. There's um, you know, 3 guard pieces that are very, very helpful. Blitzers that are very mobile to move guard where they need to. There's a blodging blitzer, break tackle blitzer, block dodge catcher, block thrower, and then some linemen as fodder. Still 155K left. I haven't decided what to do with that yet. I thought about picking up a halfling, but we'll see. Just to give me the 1 turn touchdown chance if I need to throw, or just have something that I can foul with. But honestly, I could just foul with a lineman. Um, wouldn't be that big of a deal. Um, Hungry Hibernators. So the Hungry Hibernators are a little beat up. They're missing a Norse Berserker, which does eliminate a frenzy threat, jump up frenzy threat. And then still not yet been able to pick up a Valkyrie, so maybe they'll grab a Valkyrie or replace their Norse Berserker. Still time will tell. They do have a hurt Ulfwerener, so that's probably where I will be targeting first, is to remove that Ulfwerener as quick as possible with that 8+ armor, trying to bring off the lineman, and then just work on the Yeti and some of these other pieces as time goes. My goal is to get as many blocks as I possibly can to get as many armor breaks as I possibly can, especially if I'm doing block against block. I think that will be good. There's still no pig, by the way, so there's no pick me up that's been able to come into play yet. That might also be a good pickup if there's enough money to grab both a beer boar and another positional. So not as skilled up, certainly. I think the one thing that they'll struggle against with the Hungry Hibernators will be probably getting 2-die blocks against all the guard that'll be scattered around, which will mean they're taking lots of 1-die blocks. Those go either way, right? You either fail them or not. The good thing is 1-die blocks aren't super, super risky because they do have block across the team. Um, so it should be okay, I would think. The claws are obviously be looking to break through some of the human armor and kind of bring things back even. And so With this game, oh, 180K. What are you taking? 180K. Assuming you don't buy another position. Um, I like Rumbelow a lot. I've always liked Rumbelow. I think he's probably the best in this cheap range. So having block, juggernaut horns, obviously strength 4 on a blitz, has tackle, is very helpful to try and bully some pieces around. And then I think his ram ability lets you like add 1 to armor or injury. Can't remember, but it's essentially helps you remove players. I've not used the stout mead guy. I don't know what he. I know he throws barrels, but I think you have to be like 3 spaces away and roll a die. So he might be good too. I'd have to look into him a little bit. But I'd probably end up just going with Rumbelow. I think he's a good safe pick. The other thing is you could just take kegs since you're maybe going to face some injuries. But what do I think is going to happen here? I think the humans are probably going to get ahead on injuries here and be able to run this one up a little bit. My guess is it's going to be 2-0 with the Null Nightfire winning this one here. Last game, Big Ol' Bashers, Gators of the Great Swamp. So Big Ol' Bashers suffered a little bit of injury against an old Nightfire, but I think they were able to rebuild back. Gators of the Great Swamp also have been avoiding injury a little bit. Both of the teams are pretty similar, both offensive, defensively. It's actually a really, really close matchup. Z has had a little bit more experience, I think, playing Lizardmen than maybe Cameron has his Orcs. But Cameron has gotten much better over the years, and so I think he's due another win here soon as well. Um, not been able to skill up a lot of guys yet, just through either injury or just how games have went. But got a guard piece, tackle, block, sure hands um, in there, and then Gators. Obviously, lots of strength 4, 3 block pieces, no Croxagore, which is going to be helpful. There's no Goblin on the other team. Can't afford a Croxagore, so the main thing, only 10 players, so they're going to end up needing to pick up a Journeyman. Um, so we're talking 30K petty cash. Um, so what do we do here? Well, going to end up running a Journeyman. The one thing that I would say with Cameron, the main thing is just to make sure you take your time and don't get too ahead of yourself. Make sure you think out all the possible ways that you can pull out a turn. But I think this is definitely a winnable game for the Big Ol' Bashers. There's only 4 skinks. I guess they'll have 5 because they'll have a journeyman skink. But if you could target those skinks, get them removed, use your blitzers to blitz a skink almost every turn. If you can get to one without having to dodge, you should be doing so. Because once those skinks are gone, you'll win 3-0. Right? Because the best agility is 5+. They're probably not picking up the ball, and you just run down, pick it up, and score, and the game is over. So try your best to corner the skinks, get as many hits and blitzes on the skinks as possible. Try not to get held by the sauruses. Just know if you want to hold down a saurus, base them up. They're not dodging away probably very easily, and their mobility is certainly reduced in this edition. So what do I think is going to happen? I'm going to give this one to the Big Ol' Bashers, actually. I'm going to say it's going to be 2-1. I think he's going to be able to pull this one off. I think he's gotten a lot better. So I'm predicting Cameron to pull this one away and take a win off of the Gators of the Great Swamp. So with that, it was a long video. We had a lot to cover. I know I tried to do it as thorough as possible, just so everybody could really start to get to know some of the players, get to know some of the teams, since we hadn't had a video yet this season. I'll try and keep the ones in the future a little bit shorter, but I think this was a good one to get us back on track. Good luck in round 4. And the rest of the season. Hopefully, if everybody can get their games in with enough time, I can do another game. It's obviously great if I can do these on the Saturday before the next round. So while I understand that's still part of the round, try and avoid that day if you want a video. It makes it easier on me. And with that, that is it. I hope everybody has a good round. Hope everybody rolls good dice, and I hope everybody somehow wins. But we know that's not going to happen. But anyways, have a good weekend, and thanks, guys.